What's good with YouTube? You already know Big Flocka with a convict's perspective, and I'm smashing, dashing, sliding on through with that little bit of energy. So check this out, man. This is a throwback from a couple months ago, man, where me and Cholo Trucker talked on Real Talk with Flocko about, you know, the seriousness of all these child predators that were being released. Over 7,000 were released from prison, I think, last year, man. And this was a sensitive topic for all of us, man. So stay tuned. A lot of you guys maybe didn't see this because this didn't get a lot of views, man. But this is a fucking banging ass video, man. So tap in.
And we got none other than Cholo Trucker in the house, my friend, my homie, a very good dude right there, man. It was a pleasure to meet him, man. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you on the phone, man. Always a good conversation. So I brought something to his attention. I said, look, I want to discuss what's been going on in the state of California, and that there was a release that just came out about a week ago where there were 7,000 pedophiles that were released within doing less than a year jail time with in the age bracket of 14 and under. You know, we've all been through different types of there's a lot of people out there that have gone through like different types of struggles and have been, victims as children, and I don't think people understand how hard it is to get over that type of it's that type of behavior that happens. You know what I mean? The deviant behavior of trusting adults and for them to victimize children. And we're the invisible people in this world as the children. A lot of times, people don't always reflect about the emotions and the nurturing that they need in order to succeed in life. And it's had a lot of adverse effects on a lot of people, but there have been those who've overcome it. I went through something when I was a kid. I don't really remember what happened. I guess when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I said someone had touched me, but I really don't know if I blocked it out or what, you know what I mean? Because I was so little, but I was told that years later, and it was a different time era where like parents entrusted their kids to go over anybody's house and just stuff that used to happen, man. But nowadays we're more aware of this problem, man. And what do you think about that? Just a year time, Cholo?
Uh, what you're saying right there, like I remember the incidents I had in my childhood, man. I remember pretty well. Man, when it comes to like the legal system, man. By the way, gracias so much, man, for inviting me on, especially for this topic, man, that we're talking about here. I always found it kind of strange, man, that the legal system takes it pretty easy. Now that's not all the case. To be fair, some people, do get, as they would say, the book thrown at them, right? Whatever that is, man. But it's very odd and troubling to me that some guys, man, it's like, hey, man, 18 months later they're out. Like I don't understand how that happens. Now, one thing that I have tried to look into was, do they get help while they're in there, or is it just, hey, incarcerate them and that's basically their punishment, right? There's a whole rehabilitation thing, right? But in reality, how much is there of that, man, when you commit any other crimes? For the most part, it's just you're incarcerated, and hey, I hope you learn your lesson. There's a couple of things here and there that one can get involved in, but what do these guys, are they going through some programs? Do they have certain steps? Is there anything in there for them, man? Because I truly believe this is a sickness like that's on a completely different level. This is not something of I'm gonna go out gang banging, I'm gonna go out robbing, I'm gonna go be a thief, I'm gonna go. This is a different type of crime, man. This is something mentally wrong with the person. So I'd like to know what happens with them while they're incarcerated.
I totally agree. I brought that up recently. I said, with the gang lifestyle, the criminal lifestyle, in poverty, different areas, whatever the circumstances are, sometimes you're a product of your environment and you engage in those activities because it's life survival. It's not something that's one always chooses. It's just something that they adapt to. But these are individuals a lot of times where there's a mental something wrong up here. I think there's not just a spiritual malady, but the sickness that I don't know if they can even be, to be honest with you, if they could be fixed. Because in my eyes, look, I'm a very forgiving person. I don't care what you've done, right? in anybody's past, right? A lot of people made mistakes. That, some dudes have beat their women. They've done this, they've done that, right? And I'm a very forgiving person. I think that those type of, situations you can change. But I don't have no forgiveness. That's the only thing in my heart I can't forgive is anybody does anything deviant towards a child. I have me personally. I don't, it's something that I've talked to pastors about. I've talked to, Pastor Roach about, and I told him, I don't know. I can't forgive someone, and I know that technically, if you're religious or you have a spiritual connection, you're supposed to let go, but I can't, and that's towards any child, you know what I'm saying? And that's just how I feel. And whether God wants to judge me on that, hey, he died for our sins. So that's the one sin that I have no problem committing is my feelings on that. I think if you commit one crime towards a child, I think you should lock them up, throw away the key. I think just one is, in my eyes, is all you need. That's just my perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of struggle with this because like you, man, I'm trying to be, a forgiving and understanding person, right? And just like you, I've talked to numerous of people, pastors as well, Pastor David being one of them, and they're on a different lane, and I'm like, man, this is not something where it's like, what, I'm gonna wake up and I'm just gonna see what it's like to just mess with a kid. That's not what this is.
Yes.
I'm just to try it out. That's not what this is. That's why I have a hard time believing that somebody can change from that. Now apparently, there's the whole saying that, hey, anybody and everybody can change, right? Whether that's true or not, I got no idea, especially when it comes to something like that. Where do I stand on it? For forgiveness, I'm right there with you, Flux. I'm not. I don't have that forgiveness, man. I'm like, listen, go over there. Go somewhere else, man. I don't really want you around me. I don't. And look, maybe we don't know. Maybe a person really truly can change, right? I got no idea how that would happen, but if that is true, good for them. That being said, go over there.
Yeah, it doesn't change the fact what they
being
did.
around me is not the place to be.
Yeah. So check this out, right? I've actually got into it with people, right? One time at my house, I had a roommate and I bought a laptop off him, right? And you have administrative users. So I had my own thing, but he had yet to change anything. I told him I need to do some music stuff, right? So he changed it, right? And he kept on like wanting to delete some stuff, right? And so I got, the way he did it was it sounded kind of crazy, right? So I went and looked and I seen the most sickest shit I've ever seen in my life, man. Right? We end up taking off on dude. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think you probably feel the same way. If I see something like that, some sick shit I never would imagine I would ever see in my life, bro. Like, it was that bad. Took off on my neighbors. This is when I was a little bit of a hot boy. Took off and the cops came, right? And I had to think about it. And they weren't really tripping. They were going to leave. I said, check this out. Hold up. Let me show you something. And I showed them exactly the fucking what was on the laptop and shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I felt that, what? I know basically the code of conduct on the streets, right? But this is about children here. This is a sick individual, right? This type of stuff, you know what I mean? I felt like, what if he does something to a kid in the future and I didn't do anything to stop it? Because I couldn't kill the dude because he ended up moving out, right? I can't kill the guy. I would have got caught. Right. You know what I mean? That was my feelings about it, right? So I showed the cops this, and the cops were like, they were fucking devastated. Now, not only did he get out on bail, he somehow beat his case, and he's not even on Megan's Law. So going back to the leniency about things, they will cater to people. You know what I'm saying? And I don't understand that. Like the Cain Velasquez situation, that's a prime example there.
Right. I mean, that it was very unfortunate what happened to him. All that being said, I do understand that he did grab a gun, go out, and he did commit a crime. That we're not gonna look away from that. Yeah, sure, but while you got this other guy, Harry Gallard, while he's free, that part was mind blowing to me, man. Like, wait a second, man, you got this guy over here who allegedly went out, and there's a whole innocent to proving guilty. Okay, got it. So you got this guy who is being accused of something much more wicked and is much more of a risk to society than
Yes.
Kane is, but yet Kane is locked up. You got him almost, he did almost a year while this guy is out. That part was completely mind blowing to me. I'm not saying that Kane shouldn't pay any penalty or that he should be just let go scot free. I wouldn't have mind, but I'm not saying that he should just everyone should just turn away and no, okay, man, he did a little something cool, but why is this other guy being accused of something much more devilish,
Yes.
man, and this guy's free? That part I don't get. And another thing I want to bring up when it comes to this, you brought up Megan's Law. Also, levels on this stuff. It seems like some guys just out there, man. Maybe he had a couple of too many beers, and he goes out and he's pissing behind a bush or something. Now he's in public. Orale, dog. Somebody, who that rolls up, gaffles him up, man. And now this dude is goes down as a sex offender. Like that, I don't like that either, man. Like
Yeah, that's not
that
right.
ain't cool, man. This dude just needed to take a piss. You know what I mean? He was trying to be low key. Now, don't get me wrong. If the guy goes, while there's recess at an elementary school and goes and takes his pants down and shows the kids while he's taking a piss, then that's something different. That person's not right up here. But if this guy, man, it's like, man, I really gotta take a piss. I'm gonna go around back or find a bush or something, and somebody pops them, man. Like, why are these guys, being put in there with sex offenders, man? This guy doesn't pose a threat. I don't understand that part.
I agree, man, 100%. And back to the Cain Velasquez situation, he did it. He did what any other father probably wants to do if they were in that
Mhm.
situation. And he's not the only one. I actually have a friend that was their grandchild was also a victim in that whole situation. So he multiple victims,
Yes.
not just one, multiple.
Yes.
And then I
Yeah.
know that he actually gave an interview to a newscast, right, by Cain Velasquez in the situation. The news media didn't even publish it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what? I don't understand. Like you said, one crime is worse. Cain Velasquez, you can understand. Any father should understand what he did. But this is one thing I have a problem with that judge and the district attorney is this. Okay, I get. You can't just have people vigilanting justice, right?
Mm.
But you have to have a little bit of compassion and understanding. They should have gave him a bail right from the top because you know why? His child needed him.
Yes.
His child needed him for
Yes.
him to be there. That was the most important thing. And the judge should have had a little sympathy. Maybe keep him in there for a week, a little bit, sit on this, maybe have a side talk to him a little bit, and then put him up for bail. You know what I mean? And then have him fight the
Mhm.
case from the outside and see what he can do because that. But they didn't. They didn't care enough about the kids to let the father out, but they let the dude that victimized the children. That makes no sense to me. Like, how are you going to let this guy that just victimized several children at a daycare center, but the father that went over there and just out of anger, mentally probably, snapped, which is sometimes normal in these situations, wasn't a threat to the rest of society, was only a threat to that individual. He wasn't. Cain Velasquez is not a threat to society. He was only a threat towards the individual who attacked children. That's what the judge didn't understand about that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the part that I'm saying is like, who is more of a threat to society, right? And it definitely wasn't Kane. And I agree. Look, if you did not want Kane to seek justice on his own, cool, lock him up for a week. Maybe even a month if you feel that, hey, he needs to cool down. I don't want this guy to get out there still all hot-headed and go out and do something and make this situation worse. Maybe a month, but that's already kind of pushing it. A week would have been cool. Maybe 2 weeks and say, hey, Kane, look, cool down, man. Okay, let's handle this the right way, man. But we need you to cool off a little bit. Yeah, I got no problem with that. And you're right, man. His son, who wants dad around, who needs dad around at this time, man. basically was
Yeah.
fatherless. And look, for everybody to understand something, man. Okay, like 8 months to an adult probably isn't that long. Okay, to a kid, if you go back and you remember when you were a kid, man, 8 months is a long
Oh
time.
man, it's a long
It
time.
is a long time for a kid. His kid went that long without his dad. And why? Why would that kid, what's he gonna think to himself? My dad went away because I said something,
You know, how
you
old was the
know.
child? Do you know how old the child was? His child?
I believe was about 5 or 6. I could
Yeah,
be
they needed
wrong.
him because
I
you can't expose the kid to the you can't expose the kid. I mean, he's gonna understand later. I did. I mean, I would as a parent, eventually grandparent.
mm,
I tell him what your dad did for you. You know what I mean? Because I think that regardless, you need to understand that he did what a lot of people talk about but don't do sometimes. You know what I mean?
right.
And I commend him that he was willing to sacrifice that because I think a lot of us would do the same thing for our kids. I know I would, man. Like I don't know what I would do, and my man, much respect to Cain Velasquez, and I support. I hope he's getting the support that he needs right now as far as to get through this, man, because that's a tough situation, man. And one thing is for it to happen to a child, but as a parent, man, we feel like our job is to protect our child. So when something doesn't go right, we feel like we failed. You know,
And the thing, well, just like you, I also talked to a grandfather of a child that was in that daycare that also
same one.
was so yeah, that was sexually abused, and he called me just so angry, man. He was crying, so angry he was crying, and that's understandable, man. There'd be so many emotions for me, Flocks. I don't even know which way will be left, which way will be right, Arms. There'd be so many emotions. I got no idea what I would think, or there'd be no thinking. I don't think there'd be a way to think. But what makes it very unfortunate is the fact that people want to talk about programs to help other people and things of that nature. But when you got things like this that happen, now it's like, man, trust nobody. I don't
Yeah,
want my kids going to daycare. I don't want my kids, being in sports. I don't want my kids being in the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts and stuff, because when you hear stories like this, man, it's very it you get cautious and you get scared, man, because all it really takes is just one time, one act, and your child
yes.
could be screwed up for life.
I'm,
So it's such when something like this happens, right? I would like it to be a bigger story, just like you were saying, Flax. How you're saying, like, the media didn't pick it up, right? When the grandfather gave a statement out, it's like they're not pointing it out. You're right. This is not making. I'm pointing that way because that's where the TV's at. But this does not make it onto television, man. There's so many things about injustices and all this kind of stuff, man. But this right here, this does not make it to mainstream, man, and I think it's long overdue,
and
Holmes,
this isn't
because
and this isn't no racial or color or any type of issue when it comes to
right,
this. It
yeah,
happens to all.
this is across everything. This is
Yes,
across everything. This is not for this color people or this culture or
religion or
sex. This
yeah,
is male, this is female, this is across all, rich, poor. It doesn't
doesn't
matter. This is all over the place, man, and this is the one that people choose not to cover. And it's a damn shame, man, because this happens a lot. People feel very ashamed when it happens to them. They don't want to come out and say that this happened to them, especially guys. Again, I'm not saying it's easy for girls to come out and admit this. I'm not saying that, but just please understand, it's very difficult for a male to come out and say, like, hey man, I was messed around by another male. No dude wants to come out and say that, man. So you just hold that in, you hold that anger in, and you just destroy yourself, man, and you start living a life of destruction.
I'm going to touch on that, man. That was one of my greatest challenges and achievements that I went through was when I was really in recovery, right?
Mhm.
I was sponsoring someone, and one of their on their inventory, right, as far as the resentments, fourth step, right, one of them was being molested, and what I learned is that it had basically controlled their life for like 30 something years, and that's the sad part about it is that it's And I had to go through the process of telling him, like, look, what happened to you is not acceptable. It was wrong. You were innocent and you did not deserve to be treated that way. I had to break it down like that. But you can't allow it to control you for the rest of your life. And that's what happens too often in these cases, is that people get so shamed, like you said, that they hold it in, that it's actually an outlet. It's all the other stuff are outlets for them to, because they don't feel good about themselves about what happened and they haven't dealt with it. And so I had to show him a whole different side to it, and that, you're letting something, sometimes people will let things control them that happens 20, 30 years ago. Yet, yeah, we all have our own grieving process, right? But like you said, you do not know how it's going to affect someone in their relationships, around friendships, family. It has an adverse effect and it starts to control people. And and that's the sad thing about it. Like you said, man, just one issue could ruin someone's life. And they may not even know it at the time of why. But when you sit there and dig deep and you look at your actions, it all starts to come out with a lot of people, because, I commend you for how open you are about your situation and how you've overcome it. And I'm sure you go through moments of struggles like everybody else with a past. We all do. But you found your solution that's helped you. And I think what I like the most is that you're giving back about it. A lot of people are afraid to give back. They want to limit that type of interaction. And what would you say to anybody that's like a parent or even an adult that went through this? What would you tell them?
Yeah. Look, if you know this happened to you, you don't immediately know that there's a connection, right? I said it myself, man. I went through my teens, 20s, early 30s without thinking about it, like it never happened, right? But people gotta understand things, man. That's why you got people with some sort of weird fetishes, and it messes around with their sexuality. Either they're dabbling in these things, or they themselves just have no real heartfelt connection when it comes to sex. It's just like it's just meaningless. It's just that time, the whole wham and bam, and I'm gone, but on a different level where it's really truly there is no connection to it, right? Um, all I can really say is if this happened to you as a kid and you think that it does not have an effect on you, some of the problems that you're having in life, okay, you can go back, look at it, and say like, okay, there is a trail, okay, there is a dot to connect right there, and that's okay. That's okay. That is not an excuse for what your behaviors are today, but that is looking at a problem so you can start to solve it. So whether it happened to you or not. Whatever problems you got, I'm not saying immediately just jump to it and just say like, "Oh, that's why." And don't use that as an excuse. Make sure everybody understand what I'm saying. I am no way whatsoever saying use that as an excuse for the way
Yeah.
you are today. No, if you're jacked up today, okay, look at that. That is a problem. Now let's fix that problem. Okay. First step to all of it, just like when like in rehab and everything like that, is admitting that you got that, right? And once you say like, okay, you know what, this did happen to me, boom, you start feeling a little bit lighter. I'm not saying that is the only thing that you need to do, but you start feeling a little bit lighter on your feet. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I do feel a little bit like something's off my chest a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that, Flox. I didn't know that, man. Like I said, I went my teens, my 20s, early 30s without even thinking about it. It wasn't until I was about 38 years old, 39 years old that I started saying like, okay, yeah, this did happen to me. And I remember it happening to me, but I never thought about it before. And then once I started connecting dots, I'm like, okay, yeah, this definitely has something to do with it. What happens in your childhood has something to do with you being molded as an adult. And if that's part of your childhood, then believe me, man, it has something to do with the way you are as an adult.
So, what do you think as a public we need to do more of besides awareness? I mean, like that 7,000 just shocks me. That just was
That is a crazy. Was that 7,000 just in a state?
in California.
Wow. Wow. Oh man. Dog.
Look it up. Look it up. I mean, I think Fox News ran it. A
Yeah.
couple other outlets ran it. Um, I started investigating after I seen the homie hangout did a spill on it, and I was like, let me look
Hmm.
at this. And I looked at it. I was like, wow, I did a video on it actually on this
Hmm.
channel a little bit about it. It just it shocks me, but it wasn't as elaborate as this because I like to, this is a topic that just needs to be discussed. And I don't. I think they do all these laws for like gang enhancements,
Right.
special factors. They need to do this for children. Any offense against a child, man, period. Because as long as you have limited sentences where all they're looking at maybe is a year county or maybe 3 years, people are going to do it again.
I, I
You know what I mean?
don't. I don't get it. I don't understand these light sentences. I don't understand it, man. You got vatos, you got homies, dog, being broken off easily a decade. Easily. Just I don't. But
For
for these type of crimes, I don't get it. A county lid, 18 months. I don't understand it. But so outside of just awareness, first of all, 7,000 is a crazy number from coast to coast. Now, if we're just talking about a state, my goodness, Holmes. Um, I would like there, we whenever this is talked about, we like to focus on the people that this happened to, right? The victims, and that's good. That's great, man, because we do need the victims do need help. Okay, but what I would like there to be, and again, I'm not one to really be around this situation, but I would like others to definitely do it. Um, I would like there to be programs for the predators, not the victims, but the actual predators. I would like there to be programs for them, open programs where they would say something along that line like, listen, before you go out and commit these acts, okay, we're here to help. We're here to help you. So
That's a good point.
come get the help. All right. Is that gonna really make a difference? I don't know. Probably not. Maybe it helps a few. I got no idea. Like I said, when we first started this right here, I don't know if any of these guys or girls can have their lives changed and they're sick. It's not even a fetish. I don't think
I,
so.
I
I really got no idea.
I feel this right. Every disease of mental, it's a mental disease, right? Alcohol and
Mm,
drugs are a mental disease. Now let's look at it. When people stop drinking or using drugs and they go back to it, what happens? They're right at where they were right before they left, and they continue to go down that path and get worse. They
mm,
evolve. The disease grows within you. So even I believe this, even if they maybe found a solution at the moment that's working for them, I still feel the disease is growing in them. And when it comes out, it's going to be worse. It's just like a serial killer or even some of these people that commit these type of crimes. Their crimes get worse. They start to do more because it's the rush that they get. Somehow it's a rush that fills their mental capacity. I don't know why, but I think that even those that maybe feel they found a solution, I still feel that they have a disease inside that is growing every day. You get what I'm saying?
mm,
And it's only a matter of
mm.
time where that disease may potentially come out. It's the same thing with alcoholics that's quit drinking or drug addicts. They go back to using, they're right where they last were, and it just grows. You know what I'm saying? I learned
Yeah.
that a long time ago in recovery because this is I think this is a disease that, first, the lack of spiritual malady. They have a spiritual malady where they feel some of us may be religious, but they have no spiritual connection, I feel, right? And they have the
Mm,
same things that you would find in an alcoholic or an addict, I feel. Like they obsess over it. The mental obsession, I think. They probably feel it in their heads. And then the physical allergy, once they get it, they want it more. And that's the sad thing
mm,
about it. And me personally, I think it's more important that we screen where we have our children at. We screen those individuals. We look for any warning
mm.
signs. And I think we talk to our children. I think we have to have those discussions, even if they may feel uncomfortable at times. Like, look, if this happens, you need to let me know. If they tell you that
Yes.
they're going to do this to you, you need to let us know. If someone does
Yes.
anything wrong, scream. Let someone know. I mean, those type of conversations have to happen. And as a parent, a lot of times this is the sad thing too. And I'm gonna keep it 100. There's parents out there that are too ashamed of what others may think of them that they want to hush everything up if it happens to their children. You can't be ashamed of
Right.
that, man. You have to bring awareness out there.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a family member that does it, so you don't want to bring shame to the family. And it was an uncle or a cousin or what have you, or there were kids. It's like somebody getting molested by their 5 year older cousin that's only like 5 years older, but they're both still kids. Okay, that still has an effect on that child. So most of the times, as a matter of fact, statistically speaking, it's a family member, it's somebody pretty close. So yeah, definitely listen to all the parents out there. This is why having a close relationship with your child is very important. Okay, you need to be I don't want to say a helicopter parent where the kid does not like you anymore, but you got to have a good bonding relationship with your child. You got to be able to have that relationship with your kid feels comfortable talking to you. It's just not financially. I'm gonna take care of my responsibilities just financially. That's definitely part of being a parent, but that's not the only thing, man. That child could get completely lost, and nepotism is a form of abuse because you're just leaving that kid out there to go soak things up out in the world, but with their mind that is not even able to gather good information that's going to help them to go forward. So you got to have a great relationship with your kids, where you guys can talk about school, talk about the teachers, talk about what are you learning in school, what subject is this, what's your favorite subject, what you guys learn in math, all these things, man, that just grow and grow and grow. And what happens with that is that the kid grows confidence, boy and girl
Yes.
grow confidence. And usually, not all the time, but usually, a predator will stay away from a confident kid because that kid is going to speak up. So, how do you build confidence in your child? Have a great relationship with your kids, instill that confidence in them, be a part of their lives. It doesn't just mean living with them, it doesn't just mean buying them things, it doesn't just mean birthdays and day to day having a good relationship with your kids builds a confident kid, and most likely predators stay away from confident kids.
Man, this has been an excellent conversation. I want you to give shout out to those organizations that you support, man, on here.
Y- Yeah, Stop the Silence is a global organization, and they deal again. We just said it earlier, man. This is no color lines. This is no male or female, rich, poor. This is everything. This is everywhere, man, and this is across the world. So Stop the Silence. They deal with kids globally, on a global scale that have been sexually molested. So shout outs to them. I donated to them, man. The Rock World Outreach, they don't necessarily focus on kids that have been sexually molested, but they definitely is one of the things that deal with battered women and kids that have been abused. That's definitely one of the
Yes.
things. They do so much more, but it's not just their main focus. But yeah, shout outs to those organizations.
Is there any final thoughts before we close this out?
Parents, just the kids, man, are your responsibility. Um, be in their lives. Be in their lives. I know a lot of times we shoot ourselves in the foot and we don't have the best relationship between mom and dad. Believe me when I tell you, I was in that same situation. It was hard, man. We bump heads, and it's unfortunate. There's a whole old saying of, "Hey, the only ones that pay the price are the kids," and that's true. And it's unfortunate, man, that there's this, along with so many other things that are out there waiting to prey on your kids. So you need to be there, and I'm not just talking about with a fist, like, oh, anybody touches my kid, oh my god, that's after the fact. Prevent it.
Prevention is
Be in
more
their
important.
lives,
Yes.
give them that confidence, and yeah, man, that's. We always talk about our kids, man. We got to have a great relationship with our kids, man.
And my final thoughts this, man, I read that article and some of the statements were disturbing. Some are
Mm.
blaming Governor Newsom. I don't like him I don't really like Governor Newsom, but this doesn't
Yeah,
just fall on his lap at all. It doesn't fall on his lap. This issue. This is a whole state issue. But they were addressing that it had to do with a lot of the local judges and district attorneys, and that's where you guys need to start there, man. Those judges you elect in your district, your county, you guys need to start asking those questions, man. When you guys go to those little summits where they have them debating about what they plan on doing, how they plan on implementing the law, because that has a big deal to do with what stance they take. And if you're not happy with what you see these district attorneys and judges are doing, voice an opinion. Elect some other district attorney, that's going to take a stance, because, you want someone that's going to go in there and that's going to, okay, this is what people forget. Those judges, those district attorneys, they work for us. If we're taxpayers, they work for us. We don't work for them. So if they're not doing their job and they're not pulling the things that we think that need to be valued, we need to make waves, because a lot of these cases about them getting released on OR and all this stuff have to do with those judges and district attorneys, man. So make some waves with it, man. With that said, I want to thank Cholo Trucker. This was a good discussion here, man. I think it needs to be discussed a little bit more.